Hey, everybody. We understand that right now it's a pretty emotional time for a lot of different people. If you're familiar with the show, we disagree on a lot, which kind of got us into fun little debates, and people were like, oh, this would be interesting if you guys sat down, hence where we are now. We just go ahead and let it eat. But we always listen to each other, even when we disagree, um, and we don't shut the other person down and we try to keep an open mind. And even if we don't see eye to eye, it's not going to get in the way of friendship or coming together. So there's a lot of different views and opinions expressed on this show. You don't have to agree with them all either, um, and that's okay. Either get involved in the conversation or don't. The choice is yours. But Will would like a moment of everyone's time. So I'm going to go ahead and just be quiet. I'm going to let you go. Whatever you want to get off your chest and go ahead and say to begin, you have the floor.
Thank you. That was beautiful. It's beautiful.
I made it up off the top of my head. Can't you tell? All right.
Um, I want to start off by saying that um, thoughts and prayers go to all the families that lost their loved ones on Monday. Um, Obviously, if you guys haven't heard, Monday, Nashville, Tennessee, there was a shooting at a Presbyterian church, as we all saw, and what
It's a
was it?
school.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
school. Well,
School
school
church. Yeah.
church. It's. Um, this really hit hard for me, and I think it also hit hard for you. Um, we were gonna do this earlier in the week, but I really had to compose myself of the things that I really wanted to say. If I really truly just said what I really wanted to say earlier in the week, we probably would be banned from YouTube. I'm going to be full blown honest. But I had to have time to kind of gather all the facts as much as I could, compose myself, and give the best intellectual thoughts that I can. So I first want to say to the Nashville Police, the Metro Police Department, that they did a uh, fantastic job from arriving on the scene to putting this monster down. 3 minutes. Okay, imagine if the officers in Uvalde acted as soon, just in that same time frame. How many lives they could have saved? One of my the big one of the biggest things I'm really disgusted by, and especially with the big media heads, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, all of them, is that we were more concerned about making sure we're using the right pronouns for this person. I'm not gonna sit here and give this person the shooter. Her name's Audrey, and just to get it out of the way. But I'm not gonna sit here and keep praising her name or keep throwing it out there. Not praising it, but
Mm.
just because this is what she wanted at the end. Um, it's disgusting how we spent more time focusing on making sure we get her gender right than actually what happened. Okay. News reporters were afraid to identify the person because they didn't want to mess it up. That's what we're more concerned about right now.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Sam Morrell did a pretty funny joke actually about it. Even though you would think it would be in poor taste, I feel like he nailed it. Where the cops roll up and they say, "Have you identified the suspect?" And it's like, I'm not sure I'm allowed to do that.
When are we going to learn? You think we'd learn anything from Uvalde, Sandy Hook, any of the school shootings that we've had in the past 10, 15, 20 years, even more? This isn't something that just started, recently. When are we going to learn? When are schools going to start protecting the children? When are we going to have guards, any sort of security, police officers? Now, granted, there have been situations where they've had some officers, and they'd run off, because they were afraid. That was a situation I can't think off the top of my head. There was a recent school shooting past couple years, and the officer ran away. I can't tell you how many veterans that I hear that would gladly sign up to work and protect the kids. But then I hear the other side that, schools can't afford it. Well, if our government cared about our children at all, maybe stop sending money to Ukraine for a start. Just saying. That's why the argument for people wanting to have teachers have the guns, that's why that's an argument. Because if you can't afford to hire extra security, then the teachers need to be armed. For all you anti-gun people, guns were the one that took the shooter down. Okay? And again, I say, the guns didn't just gather around, hopped in the car, and say, let's go shoot some kids, and drove to the school. You can set a gun here on the table. No one touches it, nothing's going to happen. We're avoiding the real issue, and that's mental illness. Not just you're depressed, severe mental illness. But no, we want to get clickbaity, focus on guns, assault rifles. Guns are killing everybody. Think about the 10 most dangerous cities in America. Are all Democratic cities. Pretty ironic, huh? Pretty ironic that those same 10 cities have the strictest gun laws. Pretty ironic. Pretty ironic of how they have the strictest gun laws, but yet they have the most shootings, most mass shootings. Isn't that something? But hey, don't take my word for it. Let's look at Australia, for instance. They have strict gun laws as well. You're not allowed to have a gun at all in Australia. But magically, people still die in Australia. There's still guns being able to be used in Australia. Why do I bring these things up? If you don't think by now that everyone needs to be, if you value your life, you need to protect yourself. If you have a family, you have to protect them. I think now more than ever, everyone should really consider, if they haven't already, thinking about arming ourselves or arming yourselves. That's why it's the Second Amendment. Because yes, even though the Metro Police did a really good job when they arrived, it still took them 13 minutes. And then an additional 3 when they got there. And while politicians are more worried about just stricter gun laws, more worried about trying to arrest Donald Trump, sending money to Ukraine, can't rely on them. And unfortunately, with the police force thin as it is, can't really rely on them. Can't rely on the FBI because most of the shootings, they were on the FBI watch list. So what are they doing? It's just stuff to think about. You, evil is upon us. And, we always value children. We have many differences, disagreements. We really can't agree on everything. But we usually always had the common decency to leave kids out of it. It's just amazing how, we pick and choose what to protect, what to source our money to, and it words can't describe how disgusted I am with this. And to make matters worse, the LGBTQ, elemental P, alphabet mafia, they decided that they're going to be offended that the fact that the cops shot Audrey, because Audrey identified as a trans person, man, woman, I don't really care. It's irrelevant. I really don't care what she identifies or what her sexual preference is. Shouldn't matter. But the time that we live in now, in this ass-backwards world now, it does matter. And now that community comes out in a rage because the officer shot down one of their own, ignoring the fact of what she did. You have celebrities like Madonna who is donating money to that community because she feels the loss that they took. It's like the George Floyd of BLM, if you really think about it. That's what it's becoming.
The only difference I would say is George Floyd didn't really do anything to deserve that.
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying the poster child, their
I don't think
symbol
they're
of
celebrating Audrey Hale.
well, they're not celebrating her, but they are very upset that they shot and killed her. To the point where if you even watch on TikTok, you see all these LGBTQ people having armed rifles showing it off, saying that they're going to stand up, that their lives are threatened. That's where we're at now. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm over it. I'm over that whole movement. I'm really over it. I'm over the trans shit. I'm over the mispronouns. I'm fucking over it. I am fucking over it. This is ridiculous. Let me remind everybody that if it wasn't for guns, you couldn't eliminate the threat. If the cops didn't have guns, what should they have done? What were they going to do? You're really limited because she's got the guns. The bad guys will always have guns. The reason why the amendment is there is for law-abiding citizens to always have equal opportunity to defend themselves. And unfortunately now, you're going to have to take matters into your own hands. I'm not saying go out and be your own vigilante and take matters into your own hands, but I'm saying for defensive purposes. And sure, there's a lot of you that hate guns, anti-gun, but if you were in that situation, of any shooting situation, you would hope that somebody would have a gun to put the shooter down. There's been many instances. No, let me rephrase that. There was a couple years ago in Chicago, in the Christmas parade, a person by Darrell Brooks. He mowed down people, killed them. I don't remember the numbers, but it was during the Chicago Christmas parade. It's amazing. I didn't hear anybody saying we need to ban Ford SUVs. Now, did I? No. How many people get drunk behind a wheel and murder families from a DUI, drunk driving, any sorts of, running, fleeing from the police. We don't ban cars now, do we? But yeah, we want to ban guns. Do you think that your so-called politicians, you think that they're going to have their police officers, their military, their Secret Service get rid of their guns as well? No. Because it's always do as I say, not as I do. Speaking of our politicians, I dislike Joe Biden more than any person ever in history. I'm going to say it. He was told about it, and he gets on the press conference talking about chocolate chip ice cream. Then, if that wasn't enough, see some young kids and almost creamed his pants right there in front of everybody. Then he got to the shooting. And of course, if you go to CNN, they're going to say it was botched and, well, that was before he even knew. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Because if you watch the unedited version, he just talks about it casually right after he's done with his fucking garbage for the first 5-10 minutes. And yet I'm supposed to believe that he got in fairly? If you're seeing all this and you're not woken up, you don't see that things are changing, and that especially if you're on the left, that you are being lied to, you are being fooled, you are being tricked, I can't help you. And maybe this show isn't for you. It's just not. Because your values are, they don't even make sense on how you prioritize things in life. It's really not. I mean, think about, we are more worried about, let's not misgender identify people, more than trying to solve from these shootings from happening. And they're going to happen. It has nothing to do with guns. This has been happening for hundreds of years. This isn't new. This isn't like, oh, well, this is just, just happened the last time. No. Because we refuse to address the real issue. That, and again, if you leave this mental illness thing unattended, you're going to keep getting these bad apples, these bad actors. And this isn't a hate on trans people. This isn't a target on them. But how they act towards it, that's what infuriates other people. And lastly, I want to say this. To all you Republicans, conservatives, if you have the mindset, which a lot of you do, that we're going to get him in 2024, and Trump's going to come back in and save the day, you are just as lost as Joe Biden is on stage. You are. Because after seeing him, there is no way in hell that he legit got elected. There is no way. There is no way. So you better start protecting yourselves, your loved ones, and your families yourself. You cannot count on our officials, our police force, any of them. They keep failing you. And again, I'm not going to say Memphis did a good job. That police department, they did. They did a hell of a job. That's how you're supposed to do it. But again, time is the essence when it comes to those situations. Thoughts?
I got a lot of thoughts. but we will dig into those in a moment because we do kind of have. I do want to just kind of get the situation out of the way because it was pretty wild. So, like you said, Audrey Hale, who was 28. This is from the Daily Beast, which is a pretty liberal media outlet, I would say. A source close to the Hale family told them Hale was autistic, but high functioning. So able to do, not just out to lunch, but was able to interact with things and actually did well in the art areas that she was involved in. But recently announced she was transgender, identifying as he, him. I guess now he can identify as was, were. The search of their home turned up maps drawn of the school in detail, surveillance, entry points, etc., as well as a manifesto, which they still haven't released. It's interesting, the left does not want it released because of fear of some kind of violent backlash towards the trans community. But I do kind of feel like, me personally, I do kind of want to see what's in that. I want to see what you wrote. What went through somebody's head before committing an act like this? Manifesto and some writings that pertain to this date, the actual incident of how it was all going to take place. And as we're shooting this today, it's, what was it, National Trans Visibility Day? You figured she would have waited until today to, look at me! Bad joke, okay? Yeah. I'm trying to lighten it up. A second location was mentioned, this is interesting, but later abandoned and quoted because of a threat assessment by the suspect, too much security. So that's why we went to Covenant, because there was no security at all. So minutes before the shooting, Hale sent a series of dark Instagram messages to Averania Patton, a former middle school basketball teammate of Hale's. Quoted, "You'll probably hear about me on the news after I die. This is my last goodbye. I love you. See you again in another life."
Real quick,
Sure.
I just want. Do you think I've heard rumbles that the girl that she texted, that she should have reported like to the authorities or anything. Do you feel that way at all? Because how I took it was the messages were pretty generic. They weren't like, it'd be one thing if Audrey went,
I'm
"Hey,
going
I'm
to,
going to
yeah,
the school,"
right.
and then you didn't say anything. And to me, the way that she responded was like, this has happened before, sort of thing, and just like another, "Hey, it'll be fine, calm down." But what's your?
Well, let me put it this way. I had a moment when when I was still a supervisor, and I had an employee of mine that I guess changed his profile picture to just a blank picture and wrote kind of some along the same lines, like a "see you on the other side" kind of thing. And I got called to my boss's office, was asking me if I was friends with this person on Facebook, which I was, and I was a little confused at what's going on. He says, pulls it up and shows me, the last two messages, sort of a goodbye, and changing the profile picture to just blank, like he's gone. Now, I had picked this person up one time. His car wouldn't start, and I didn't, he didn't want him to be late, and he was worried about getting dinged for being late too many times. So I asked him what his address was. Lived right around the corner. So I said, let's go. We did a wellness check. He was fine.
Oh yeah,
It was
I
one of
remember
those
that,
kinds
yeah.
of things. But we didn't even take that lightly. We're just like, you know what? Like, we called the next of kin, called his son, so we contacted his family first, and then I just looked at my boss and was like, hey, I know where he lives. I'm going to go just wheel over there. It's 5-10 minutes from here. It's worth missing work just to make sure that someone's okay. So I would say that you should probably tell somebody. If you care about people or someone and they're texting you some cryptic shit like
Right,
that,
but
you
I'm
should
but I'm
probably
saying, do
tell
you
someone.
think she should be like, because I've heard that she should get in trouble for not saying anything.
No,
Because,
no,
I mean,
that's
again,
not fair. I don't think that's
and
fair.
again, it was a generic
Exactly. Like,
text. I mean, obviously you should
and messages
say
were sent
right,
back, like, are you, what's going on? All this stuff. Like,
right,
you're making someone freak out and they don't know what to do and they're concerned.
right.
You know,
Yeah,
that's not
I
on
just wanted to
that's not
clear
on
that
Miss
up.
Patton.
Yeah.
So, Police Chief John Drake had to report the AR-style rifle, AR-style pistol, and a handgun. 2 of the guns were obtained legally and locally. Said Hale was also under care for an emotional disorder at the time of the shooting and had legally purchased 7 firearms, including the 3 recovered from the shooting. Okay. Who the fuck sold her guns?
What do you mean?
Well, if we want to talk about mental health and that's the issue, not the guns, why is that? If we have these background checks or places that background checks, I'm not a gun guy, okay? I don't like guns. Let me just put that out there. I appreciate people that do kind of thing. Like, I get what you were saying. Like, I am that person in the crowd where if someone does start shooting, I'm ducking and running. But if they're coming at me, I hope someone else has something that can take them down or sides somehow. I get that. But if we're doing these background checks and shit, and you have not only a little bit of a history of this, you're also currently undergoing psychiatric care, I would find it a little inappropriate to sell this person firearms.
Well, you can be deceitful. You know, you could put on an act to
You
the
can
gun.
put on an act.
But again, the background check is to make sure you are a law-abiding citizen. You've never been arrested, never broke any rules.
I'm glad you bring that up.
That sort of thing.
Because when I was about 24, I decided, just for a kick, I had the money at the time. I spent the $50 to apply for the gun permit. And they sent everything back to me. I filled the whole thing out, sent it back to them. And they're like, okay, yeah, this. And now I got to go to the courthouse to just go ahead and sign some. And I'm like, I'm not doing it because I don't want to fucking
Was it
gun.
a permit or a carry license?
A concealed
The
weapons
concealed
permit.
weapons permit. Okay,
Okay, do I not need a background check for that?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Because you're just getting a license to legally carry if you were to get a gun. Because especially here in Florida,
Okay.
you can just get a gun. Like, for instance,
I feel like you can.
You can just buy a gun from me. You don't have to go to a gun store.
Right.
As long as I feel that you're not going to harm yourself or others, you can legally buy a gun.
Or you could just be Joe Schmo down the street and not care, and
No,
you're just
you- no,
slinging
you-
weapons,
I-
you know?
yeah,
you can go to
that's-
Southside St. Pete right
that-
now, I could come back with a whole arsenal, I'm sure.
That too, but I want to
I'd be
clarify.
riding in a tank.
That too, but I want to clarify that with you because the gun permit
I'm learning.
and the carry license are two separate
different things.
Yeah.
Never mind what I said. Good point, then. Well, so what... I don't understand, like, how do we do this, then? How do we figure out whether somebody is capable of being sold a firearm if they're mentally sound? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have all the answers, but all these fucking people end up getting guns one way or another.
Right.
And they're not all there.
Right. So then what's the expression? Fight fire with fire, right?
I can agree with that.
So you're going to have to now, because why are schools, think about this, why are schools the most prone for shootings? Do you see them going into police stations? Right. No. Why is that?
Right. I will say
because everyone has a gun, right? So maybe, just a crazy thought, if schools had somebody with fucking guns, guess what? Gee,
Right.
I think they might go somewhere else.
She even passed up the second, location because of too much security. Yeah, I hear you.
It's plain and simple. It's really not this hard.
Yeah, and based on, and I'm glad you bring that point up, why they don't go into a police station or things like that, because I used to feel that way myself. I'm like, look, if you're that mad at society or the cops or the world or whatever, like, why don't you attack the people you're actually mad at?
But they don't.
Right, and you don't. So, and I would hope that nobody watching this is somebody that's, concocting some crazy maniacal scheme, but I'm going to just go ahead and, it's the internet. Could be anybody. If you are, and you want to go shoot at little kids, guess what? You'll be forever remembered as a coward. A low-level, scum-sucking piece of shit for the rest of history. So good on you. You want to go ahead and shoot little kids because you don't have the fucking balls. That's what it is. And I would think that too. Just people with guns and people that really get over the top about their guns. In my mind, I'm just like, because when you get something, you're not always in my face about stuff. I know you have them. You've never brought them around me. If you have, I didn't know because you're not like, oh, check this out, check that out. When you got a new one, you just briefly showed me a picture of it. We had a little, oh, wow, this quick conversation about it, and that was
Because
the end of it.
responsible
Right.
gun, they don't, they're not
A lot of
flossing it
them,
around.
yeah, a lot of them are though. A lot of them are. Even one of my previous bosses, thank goodness he's gone now, even up front told me he was driving to Tampa. There was an erratic driver weaving between lanes, riding people's asses, driving all crazy. And when he came up to his side, because it made him uncomfortable, he told me he brandished his weapon at the driver. You fucking pussy! Because you don't know how to fucking fight.
That's not all, and that's not all gun owners. And again, there's
always a lot of them.
Listen, there's always
Fuck around and find out.
There's a spectrum. The same thing with, you see guys that have fucking big ass trucks. There's people who
They're usually one and the same.
There's people who have weapons and then they want to act big, bad, and tough, but they're not responsible gun owners. And I'm sure if shit actually hit the fan, they're not going to know what to do with it. I doubt
Kyle Rittenhouse, for instance.
I doubt that they hit the range or practice or anything like that. So
I'm not saying, but I know a lot of them.
But you're going to have that. You're going to have that. Again, look at the pot. You're always going to have bad apples in any category that you have.
I agree because, and the point that you brought up about the Darrell Brooks that ran over and killed 6 people, he was just...
And injured a lot.
Over 20, I think it was. And you were saying, he got 6 consecutive life sentences and over an additional 700 years, in prison or whatever, and... It's like, what do you say to that then? No truck should have 18 wheels. No one should have it. No, I'm just saying. I know. You know what I'm getting at, though? That's the other argument that comes from the left, though. It's something and I always found myself to be liberal. But I do understand the point of having the Second Amendment. But the way this country goes about, it's just a fucking free-for-all, it feels. And I know there are places that gets more stringent, and it's still not, it doesn't fix the problem. I agree with you like that, because I used to say that with people about drugs. My teacher's talking about, and I was like, all right, well, crack's illegal, for instance. Yet somehow, crackheads are still getting crack. And she goes, exactly. And I'm like, so why have drug laws?
Look at alcohol.
Well, there's only one reason for and I'm like, there's only one reason for the fucking gun.
Look at alcohol. How many DUIs? How many people are drinking and driving, killing people? How many women are getting beat up because their husbands, boyfriends drink too much? We don't ban that. We had prohibition. That's it. It's all cool.
Right.
We're gonna have a gun prohibition. We're gonna have a gun prohibition. It's gonna happen.
Well, there is a good reason, and we got to go back in history a little bit to 1775. The battles of Concord and Lexington, the traditional, the whole shot heard around the world, Paul Revere, the British are coming, that whole thing. That happened because the British, in the middle of the night, went to those locations because there were massive stockpiles of munitions, gunpowder, cannon, shit, muskets, what they were fighting with back then. So the British's idea is, we're going to disarm this population, and then we can control them. The Americans said, fuck no, and, had that whole system, the alert system, with the candle in the window or whatever, if they move it to the right side, and Paul Revere, the British are coming, riding out, ringing the bell and all that shit. So it was their attempt to destroy or confiscate everything in those munitions depots. And if that would have happened, we might be talking like this right now, talking about, tea and biscuits and maybe something else. But here we are. So they wrote this amendment, and a lot of people like to twist that one around too, because it's a well-regulated militia to protect the free state. I'm paraphrasing, I don't know it verbatim. and then there's a comma. Well, that regulated militia is a country's military. You know what I mean? Like,
No, no, it's a state. Each state has their own. If the country were to go down for whatever reason, like let's just say like uh, Washington D.C. got nuked, let's just say, or the White House got blown up or whatever, or there was another colony war or whatever. Each state has their own quote unquote militia, quote unquote National Guard. They have their
which
own
is run by
separate.
what?
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's the military. That's the
Yeah.
problem I have with it. So, but then the second half is for each individual to have the right to bear arms and defend yourself, shall not be infringed, kind of thing. I almost want to go back in time too, to just like kind of be like, look, we talk a little differently because shall not be infringed is only used when referring to the Second Amendment. We don't use that kind of language. We don't. So just like I want to go back there and like be like John Hancock, bring your big pen and just write never ever 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 to clarify it so that there really is no confusion, because it's almost the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, the way America treats it, the politicians, I guess, and everyday Americans. I'm Canadian, so fuck it. But they treat it like the Bible. Like how you said, we pick and choose what we like, what our interpretation of this means, what we think it is, then form our own little religion or political agenda or whatever you have going for you, and you push that front to change legislature and doing all that kind of stuff. Same thing, with all the different various versions of Christianity. It's like there's little similarities, and then this is the only difference here, this is the only difference there. It's their interpretation. What do we keep? What do we translate? How do we want to translate it for our point of view and our people? So basically, we're perverting the entire document now. That's where we're at this many years later. And I know it says shall not be infringed, and I broke my pen, but that's a very difficult thing to go ahead and throw in after a word like amendment. So for those of you that don't know what amendment means, it's a minor change or addition designed to improve a text, piece of legislation, etc. So in terms of the government, an addition or alteration made to a constitution, statute, or legislative bill or resolution. Amendments can be made to existing constitutions and statutes, and are also commonly made to bills in the course of their passage through a legislature. You can change things. That's the point of amendment, like the 13th Amendment, abolish slavery, like this, okay, we got this, So either we need to just clarify, like no question about it, clarify what we all think this amendment means and stick with that, or we're forever going to be going back and forth like this.
That's what they want.
And exactly. We're going to forever be arguing about it. I want an assault weapons ban. Okay, I guess we're going to shoot with handguns. And mind you, most big shootings like that happen with handguns.
Yep.
We like the big scary words like assault weapon. I know you and I have talked about this. I got a baseball bat. Yeah, it's a sporting tool. Yeah, no problem there. Can do damage, but it's not scary. It's just a baseball bat. But if I'm walking around with a baseball bat that has nails in it, you're gonna look at me and be like, "What the fuck, dude? That's an assault bat." Anything is assault. Like if I punch you right now, that's assault. Assault hand. Like it's a big buzzword to scare people. Every gun is capable of assaulting people. You know what I'm saying?
But again,
we're only going to ban assault-style weapons. Well, isn't that all of them then?
Well, that's what they want. Again, you already see our First Amendment, freedom of speech, is already being compromised already,
Yes.
and it has been.
Right.
How many people have been canceled because of things that don't fit the narrative, things that we're constantly being censored, constantly. So, and listen, for instance, we can't say what we really want to say to an extent because we can get canned. Like, that's the thing, though. So, and they've already. I mean, Bill Clinton was it Bill Clinton? I think it was. He did a he passed something with firearms. I think it was to ban assault rifles or ARs, AR-15s, but that only lasted for 10 years.
Mm.
Um, but they want to take your guns away, not because of safety of children, not for they could care less. It's so that way they have more power and they don't have to worry about people standing up and pointing the guns towards them and tell them to get out or anything like that.
Right. You can see
It's
some
a
history
power
of
grab
countries
because
of
the military will always have guns. The police will always have guns.
right.
And
They'll
when
be protecting
when
the
shit
politicians that say you
yes,
shouldn't have them.
yes.
And
And guess what? You have an open border. You don't think guns are coming through there? Let's be real, people. Let's be real. So enough. If you're so delusional that, again, guns don't have a life of its own. It's the person controlling the gun. Just like a person gets in a car. You could kill somebody. You could kill yourself. But we drive every day. Alcohol, you can drink so much you could die. Alcohol poisoning, right? You could get so fucked up, walk in front of a train or whatever. And we could die from anything in life. And at the end of the day, it's what? Our responsibility, isn't it?
it is I guess the only difference with that and a gun is that all those other things serve other purposes. The gun only serves one.
What's that? What's the purpose?
To kill things.
What about a feel of not being a victim? That you can actually defend yourself.
You can do that, yeah. But how are you defending yourself? By either wounding or killing the assailant.
But your life's on the line as well.
I can agree with that, but there's only one purpose for the gun. Whereas the car is transport. A knife, I can chop up all my stuff. Like all those things, yes, I get your point. Like you can use literally anything, but the gun makes it so. And I'm not saying ban all guns. I'm not saying that because I'm very aware this shit is not going anywhere. Whether they're legal or illegal, like I said, the shit's gonna come through no matter what. People are gonna get their hands on them no matter what. All those cities that you said that have the highest shooting percentages. And having the strictest gun laws, I see where you're coming from. I'm just saying, like, yeah, let's just be real, though. The gun only serves one purpose. It's a shitty purpose, and it sucks that they're here. I just don't like them. I just don't like them.
What do you...
And it makes me sad that it makes me feel almost like I want to get one at this point because I don't know what the solution is now. Because they tried to do the whole violent video games thing. Oh, it's violent video games, that's what's getting all these people riled up. Now, but there's violent video games all around the world. There's violent video games in Europe, Canada.
Not just video games. What about movies?
Right.
TV shows?
Yeah. And there's mental health issues in all those countries as well. Why are they not having this problem? I don't know.
Something to say about that, too. Do you see any other country having this divisiveness? Do you see LGBTQ all over the fucking Europe, Russia, China, India, any other country to this magnitude? No. Why? Why is it only here? Again, it's to separate us more, to distract us more, to have us fight against each other. And common sense is out the window. Common sense is out the window. We want to attack the guns. What about protecting the kids? So let me ask you this, your opinion on how would you handle protecting kids in school?
In school?
Yeah. If it was up to you, try just your thoughts.
Protecting kids in school.
Just
okay. One main entrance and exit point. You can have emergency exits, of course, but one main one, and everybody has to. All the other emergency exits need to have surveillance on it, just so no one's trying to shimmy open through the fire door or something. Metal detectors, that you go through to do that, and for public schools, I'm going to go ahead and say cops, armed police officers at the school, because the public school is being paid for from our tax dollars and the states, and so is the police force. So if you're a civil servant,
But why just public? Why not all schools?
well, because there's going to be that separation there when you're a private school, especially when it comes to religion, because of the separation of church and state that we have, unfortunately. And this could be a great job creator. Like how you were saying, a bunch of veterans apparently want to sign up to be a part of a new security force for schools. They could be used for the public schools and get paid to do it. I'm all for
Every
that.
school that I went to, we had an officer.
Were they all public schools?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
never went to
wild.
private school, but I'm just saying but it was never a.
Because I went to
my
private
God.
Catholic school up through 8th grade, and then when I went to high school, it was, for me, I was like, oh my God, there's 3 cops, and I'm looking at their waist, and I see it, I'm like, oh my God, he has a gun and a taser. Like, oh my God, where am I right
think
now?
private schools should. They have the money to afford it. They should.
And maybe they do.
And that's the one negative. That's
the only solution I can think of.
That's my
though.
knock again. And listen, that school had most of those things that you talked about. That surveillance, which it had. We saw her rolling around campus. But again, even the one way, you could shoot the glass out.
That is what happened.
Right. Metal detector, what? If they had one, she was just going to be like, damn, I'll walk back. The fire alarm was pulled. There was a student who pulled the fire alarm. She lost her life, unfortunately, but she pulled the alarm to alert others. And again,
So you need armed security.
but it's not, and there's been other shootings in churches too. Churches need to wake the fuck up and realize, listen, this isn't fucking Candyland anymore, and they also they can be easily victimized as well.
But see, this is where we're going. We're just going to be a twitchy-fingered, trigger-happy family, and you know what? That's it. Everybody gets a gun. Let's all kill each other. Like
But
there's going to be acts, even that too, with the armed guards and everything like that. Just wait for the day when one of those guys loses it. You know what I mean? Everything's a ticking time bomb. And I agree. Where are they going? Where are we going to do? Are we going to turn them over willingly? I doubt that.
There'll be some.
No, I do.
Some.
But even proposing some kind of legislation like that, where you're going to have the FBI and the ATF rolling up on someone's, and they're not going to want to comply with this. And they're going to go hard on the Constitution. They're going to go hard with the Second Amendment, and that's going to end in a firefight. 9 times out of 10. Probably resulting in the civilian's death. But at that point, if you pass something like that, you'll probably be labeled a domestic terror cell.
Yeah.
An enemy of the state.
Look, there is no perfect answer.
No.
There isn't.
Makes me mad.
There's not. And again, we've slowly becoming what we always fought against. We're becoming that. I do want to. There's this person I listen to. His name's Steve Dace. He is on the more of the conservative side, but he said something about our country that was pretty impactful, and I think that suits well. He says the United States right now is in the hospice, and there's only 2 ways you can get out of it: death or a miracle. And what are the odds of one happening?
Only 2 certainties in life, and that's death and taxes.
Right. You're seeing we're very fragile right now. We have no leadership, and everyone wants to attack everybody.
Yeah, that was a ridiculous. And I know you brought, and I stayed quiet because you were, sharing your thoughts about stuff. But that moment where they say that, that the president's going to address the shooting, and I get it. But he knew. And I can get how the crowd didn't know, because some people were shitting on the crowd.
They didn't know.
Right, they didn't know, so they were laughing at him. They had no clue what was coming out. But it was for some, women's CEO business rah-rah thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he comes out and, he's all like, I'm Dr. Jill Biden's husband. I'm Joe Biden. And everybody, he's getting the laughs. I came down for some chocolate chip ice cream. What the fuck, dude? Read the room. This isn't a comedy routine. Kids are dead. You would think, and they said that too. They cut away and they're just like, sorry about that. Like we were told that off the top, President Biden was going to, make a statement about this situation. And apparently not. We thought we were going to have a somber President Biden come up to the podium and like.
The only reason why I strongly recommend that people who don't have one should get one to protect themselves and families up, because we're too far gone. There's no more order. There's no more. It is going to be the Wild West. We're too divisive on
That's
so
what
many
I mean.
fronts.
We're all just going to
We're
be
all
hiding. Because I've even heard
there's no answer unless if like a major 9/11 thing happened to where we then all come together. But again, you can't hope.
Bush did 9/11.
You can't hope and rely on that.
Right.
You can't.
And why would you want to?
You can't.
Yeah.
And if that's what it takes for us to realize, listen, we're all in the same boat here and all this other shit. I mean, it's just it's too late. And I don't see any. I really don't. I've lost all hope. I mean, really, what I've seen on how compliant everybody was during the whole COVID thing, and now this, we're not even. We just want to. Attack. It's your fault. It's this. It's just like, Jesus, man. I mean, again, kids are fucking dying, and you want to argue about. How about protecting kids? That should be the argument.
And I agree with that. There is one incident that actually my little metal detector thing probably could have helped prevent. And this happened March 22nd, 2023. Just last week. Not that long ago. It's not getting a whole lot of media attention. But Denver East High School, a student, 17-year-old Austin Lyle, shot and wounded 2 administrators while undergoing a required daily search for weapons, then fled the building. So, he's got the thing in his locker, in his bag, whatever, and they do a sweep that they do of, all the lockers and everything like that, doing checks, and went for it because he knew he was going to get busted and shot the 2 administrators that were conducting this search. Now, they didn't die. They were both just wounded, but they very well easily could have lost their lives in that altercation. They found his body in Park County, a little ways away, with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. DPS Superintendent Alex Marrera said he was committing to have an armed officer at each comprehensive high school in the district, despite the fact that it likely violates school board policy, which makes you kind of want to look into that policy. And when I did, sadly, this incident came 3 years after Denver Public Schools decided to eliminate a program that put armed police officers in school buildings, relying instead on the district's security team, which may have consisted of these 2 administrators. You know what I mean? Like, I could see that they appoint a couple people at each school, be like, all right, you're the security team, all right? Like, you need to conduct these checks, and they almost got fucking killed over it.
Again,
they had the policy in place, retracted it, and there you go. And now we're coming back to it. Yeah. At all the high schools, I'm going to have you already had that, and look at what happened. It's sad. It really is sad.
It's the world we live in now.
And there's a viral video going around. I don't know if you've seen it. It's about a bucket. It's basically a survival bucket. And in the bucket, it has a whole bunch of different things. Got like MREs, and it's got some water. And the bucket itself, when you take the lid off, it's got like a toilet seat type cushion lid. Yeah, you're going to have to shit in the... It's like being in the hole in jail. You don't know how long you're going to be in lockdown for, so everyone's going to have to share this. And then the teacher pulls out, these little... He's like, I got all these little blankets. What do you think they're for? And some people said sleep. Another kid, which in my mind was the first thing I thought of, fire blanket, kind of thing. Maybe it's a fire blanket. Kid said fire, and he goes, no, In case any of you are dead, in case we have any dead bodies in this room, this is used to cover them up. And you may have to do that to me. Why we don't... And we love our educators too. I mean, I get it about the kids, but we love our educators too. Teaching. Such a noble profession. Such a vocation. You want to make that kind of money and risk that shit every day? Fuck that.
That's why you don't see a lot of teachers anymore.
Fuck that.
Which is why...
And if you're still doing it, bless you, because...
Well...
Right, I don't go into work every day thinking... And it could happen, sure. Someone could and decide to use my workplace as a target. There are, in the instructional videos on what to do in that kind of a situation, which came out, maybe like 5-6 years ago, as a regular annual refresher, what to do in the event of an active shooter, which I'm sure a lot of workplaces do have. But I don't feel that way when I go there. Whereas I wonder, with kids and teachers, like, are you looking over are you scanning the crowd of all your kids? Like, is it going to be one of them? Is it going to be someone random? And there's no gun to defend them. Because I do agree with you. The guns ain't going anywhere. And it's sad that we're at a point now where someone who does not like guns, is thinking about getting a gun just because I feel like everybody's packing and I don't want to be alone.
Or a victim.
But I know and it's why I never had one, because I know myself, because I have mental issues. Want to talk about mental illness? Hey!
Yeah, but
and I know, I'm not going to go out and hurt people. I'd use it on I'm the only person I'm going to kill. I know that.
But you wouldn't, because you value your life. And you can sit here and put on a front, but I read you pretty well. You do. And deep down, and I know, you're not religious, but deep down, you kind of are, because you still follow suit of being a good person, trying to do the right thing, live a modest life, try to help people. You do.
Yeah, but that's just it. There's a good feeling that comes behind that. I'm not doing it because I think Jesus is smiling down on me.
But
the thoughts and prayers. I mean, we can talk to our imaginary friend all we want. It's done nothing.
But again, I don't see. I don't see you doing anything like that. I really don't. I think you value your life too much. Take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. One bad day changes a lot, though. Obviously, for anybody.
Well, then don't get one.
I don't want to get one.
Then don't.
But I'm not saying that you shouldn't have guns. I still feel that the Second Amendment should be in place. I feel like we're mishandling the entire situation. And like how you said, all we're doing now is pointing blame in 1,200 different directions, and it's what they want.
Yep.
Nothing's going to get done. We're going to be arguing about this until, hopefully, it doesn't come to what you said it may come to. But that would definitely be the moment where it's nut up or shut up now.
Yep.
There's no more talk. Because activism without act is just ivism. That makes no fucking sense. I hate this conversation right now. It's too much.
It is, but it needs to be talked about.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing it with you, man.
Because there has to be common sense, and then there has to be you have to set your priorities on, okay, what's the main issue? Work on that first, and then, everything else can kind of trickle down. And again, my biggest thing is protecting kids. And that's what it's always been, So I don't give a fuck if you think teachers should or should not have guns, but there needs to be something going on there.
I don't know. If some of my teachers in high school had a gun, I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now. They would have had enough of my ass.
Again, there's no right answer.
Right, there
isn't.
Yeah.
But again, I'd rather see, instead of sending money to Ukraine for no fucking reason, because it's so shit going on there. Maybe spend that money and have a legit fucking security force on schools.
Right.
You don't need a lot, just maybe 2, 3 dudes. That's fucking it. You're not running a fucking fucking country. It's just,
Right.
it's just so. Again, universities have security. Well,
I think they had quite enough of that shit going on in universities to.
So again, and I don't.
Think about airports too. How easy it was to just get on a flight pre 9/11.
Not anymore.
That thing happens, we shut that shit down. Yet we let this continue. It's bizarre.
Because they want it to.
It's bizarre,
It's fear.
right?
That's what it is. And I'm telling you, we have a lot of evilness in the world. And most of it is in our politicians. Setting these rules, setting these policies, looking the other way.
And I feel they get a fucking raging hard on when they see something like that. Both sides. It's going to stir up their camp. They're going to be rallying. We're going to be rallying for more guns, and it's going to jack those people up. And then the other people are going to be, yelling, less guns or ban guns.
Whenever there's a shooting, gun sales go up.
Everybody gets jacked up, man. They are slinging freedom seeds, baby, all day.
The best
And
advice.
I feel bad for a gun owner, or not a gun owner, but the proprietor of a business. You know what I mean? I still kind of want to learn a little bit more about that, because how these people can legally I kind of want to see the process. I have to learn, because that part doesn't make sense to me still.
Yeah,
how these people with clear mental issues and undergoing psychiatric care can legally purchase weapons.
Well, again, if you don't if you haven't told anybody that you have mental struggles, how would we know? You don't act like you do.
But isn't that part of the background check?
No, it's not.
It should be then. How about that? I know. I don't know. I'm spitballing,
again, but
man.
then you're infringing on HIPAA. HIPAA. I mean,
there's too much legal red tape. Everybody gets a gun. That's it.
Listen.
Everybody gets one. You get when you're born into this world, they give you a little baby 22, and then as you get older, it graduates to a bigger gun.
You can get cute with it, but that's great. But listen.
What else are we gonna do?
All I'm gonna say is, as we're ending, I just want to say that you just have to look out for each other, like in your family, in your group. Protect yourselves, and that's it. That's all you can do.
Right.
You can't rely on others anymore to help you. You cannot rely on the government to fix your problems.
And
it's too late for that.
That's something I do have a problem with the current left situation at this point, because they want the government to do everything.
It's never worked in history.
When I was growing up, we were all against that. We were all like, fuck the man and fuck this, fuck that. And now it's flipped again. And they're like, we want you to do that. You should be doing this.
It's not just flipped.
You should be doing this. You should be taking care of that. You should be.
It's not just flipped, but it flipped.
I don't want them involved.
And then fucking went all the way.
That's
on
what I mean.
ends.
Now that I'm at this age and even talking about some of these things, like I'm still sticking to my guns about certain things, about how I feel about them. But then when I talk about it, I do have a lot of people that I knew at a younger age, and they go, "Wow, you got more conservative as you got older." I'm like, no, that never changed. You guys did.
Yeah. I mean, look, you have Bill Maher, Russell Brand, Joe Rogan.
They go, oh, those are right-wing guys. Even they're scratching their heads at that. Like, what?
Right. But,
when have I ever in my life?
But that's because it's getting so ridiculous.
Right. It's so dichotomous. If you're not on this team, it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, man.
It's sad all around. I mean, I've never been... I was pretty heated during Uvalde.
Yes,
pretty heated.
You popped off during that episode. I remember that.
But when this shit went down, unacceptable.
I feel like I've lost my composure a lot more than him. You've kept it together pretty well.
I had to because if not, we were going to be canceled.
Right.
I might as well throw all this shit in the lake. If I said what I really wanted to fucking say.
Just save the beer. Just throw me in.
But the people that I do, every common day people, when we talk about this, they're in agreement of what I say. I'm not here trying to preach. It's just common sense. I'm not telling people what to do. I'm just saying that you need to look out for yourself, whatever means. You have to. You can't, because hoping that something massive is going to change, or it's not.
That's how I feel about saying thoughts and prayers. It's like, what the fuck is that doing anymore? It's done nothing. There needs to be action. What the action is, I can't. Like you said, there's not one
That's
fits
part
all.
of having faith. Part of always having faith is no matter how bad things are looking, or all hope is lost, you still always have to have faith that in the end God will take care of you as long as you keep doing the right thing. And that's what it boils down to. And all these things, that all this doom and gloom and everything, again, it's just distractions to get you off that path. I am not the most religious person. Okay, I don't go to church. I just don't.
No security.
However, I do believe in God. I do. I'm a Catholic. I always have faith. And again, I don't want to use, weapons. I don't. But I'll be damned if I'll be a victim. I'll be damned if I'm in an area and there's a fucking crazy person that decides they want to shoot everybody. I'm just going to sit by and let it happen. But as I'm saying that right now, there's hundreds and thousands of people who feel the same way.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
And that's what separates us. When you lose faith, when you lose hope, when you lose all that, you become what the left is, and how deranged, how evil, how corrupted they are. That's what separates us. And I'm not saying, Republicans are holier than thou, because they're not.
I was gonna say,
They're not. And I've made it clear on this show. I've called them all out. I have. Called them all out. This is what it is. And that's why I tell these conservatives, and I hate watching, because they still claim, we'll get them in 2024. Get the fuck out of here. It's not happening. It's not happening.
Right, because they're part of that same system. They're keeping the game
they're
going.
Protected.
Yeah.
They're
fine.
protected.
They're fine, yeah.
Follow the fucking money. If you're serious about this, protect the kids. If not...
Well, apparently I have faith in me, and I have faith in you to protect me. That's my security squad right there, baby.
Heard that.
You think he's rolling out here naked? Fuck no. Fuck no.
I like rolling out here naked. Listen,
sometimes it's
again,
okay. On my birthday, that's fine.
Listen, it's a sad day, and I can sit here and lie and say things are going to get better. I do not believe.
Oh, come on, have faith.
I have faith in myself. I do not have faith in this country whatsoever. I don't.
Fair.
I've lost it.
I
really, because I don't know what else needs to happen for people to wake the fuck up and be like, man, our government's a fucking clown show. But hey, no more mean tweets.
They'll be coming from us.
Aren't you happy now? No more mean tweets.